German has the verbs wissen and kennen, and the two verbs mean to know. However, they apply to different types of knowledge, and in this video, I'll explain their meanings. Wissen is used for factual knowledge, meaning to know a fact, information, and how to do something. It refers to knowing facts and pieces of information which can be translated as to know that or to know how. On the other hand, kennen is used for familiarity, meaning to know a person, place, or thing. It refers to being familiar with something or someone, like a person, a city, a book, etc. This is the main difference between the two, so let's see how they get conjugated. In this video, I'll show their conjugations only in the present, because other tenses will be explained in the next videos, considering that German has regular and irregular verb conjugations. In the present, wissen is an irregular verb and has irregular conjugations. While wir, ihr, and sie follow the basic pattern of conjugating verbs, ich, du, sie, and es will have irregular conjugations with one borrowed conjugation. Ich weiß, du weißt, sie, es, weiß. Wir wissen, ihr wisst, sie, wissen. This is how wissen is conjugated in the present. Now, let's see the conjugations of kennen. Unlike wissen, kennen is a regular verb and will have basic regular conjugations in the present. Ich kenne. Du kennst. Sie, es, kennt. Wir kennen. Ihr kennt. Sie, kennen. This is how kennen is conjugated in the present, and with that in mind, let's have examples with wissen and kennen. Ich weiß, dass kommt. Weißt du, wie spät es ist? Wir wissen viel über Geschichte. Sie wissen, wie man schwimmt. This is how wissen works in context. Now, let's see kennen. Ich kenne ihn gut. Kennst du Berlin? Sie kennt das Buch nicht. Wir kennen diese Geschichte nicht. This is how kennen works in context. To further understand when to use each verb, we can look at grammatical elements where wissen and kennen most often appear. For instance, wissen is often used with subordinate clauses and indirect questions, like Ich weiß, dass kommt. Weißt du, wann der Zug kommt? On the other hand, since kennen works with a person, place, or thing, it would always be followed by direct objects with no subordinate clause, like Kennst du diesen Film? Ich kenne diese Straße nicht. To give more comparisons, we can take English sentences and express them in German to see the difference, like Do you know how to swim? Do you know Maria? I know that he's from Germany. He knows Berlin well. When putting these phrases in German, we can see which sentences will use wissen and kennen. Weißt du, wie man schwimmt? This phrase uses wissen because it shows the knowledge of how to do something. Kennst du Maria? This sentence uses kennen because it expresses being familiar with a person and not so much factually knowing everything about them. Ich weiß, dass aus Deutschland kommt. This phrase uses wissen because it shows a fact. He is from Germany is a fact, and I know that he is from Germany. Therefore, it's a factual statement that uses wissen. Kennt Berlin gut. This phrase uses kennen because it shows being familiar with a place, and not so much knowing everything about the place. This is how wissen and kennen work in German, yet more concepts need to be known. When using modal verbs with wissen and kennen, both verbs can pair with modal verbs, like Ich muss das wissen. In this case, wissen is more common with modal verbs because it refers to cognitive states and abilities, while kennen sounds more natural with probability or permission. Moreover, you can find the German verb können meaning to be able to or can. Sometimes wissen and kennen overlap with können, in which case a distinction is needed. Wissen means to know a fact or how to do something, like Ich weiß, wie man kocht. Kennen means to be familiar with something or someone, like Ich kenne das Rezept. However, können means to have the ability to do something, which translates to can. Ich kann kochen. The difference here is that Wissen and Kennen come from the same concept of knowledge, while Können has a completely different meaning. It may be confusing to mix the verbs because Kennen and Können visually have similar letters, but always know that they have different meanings. While Wissen is used with subordinate clauses and Kennen is used with direct objects, Können is actually a modal verb, meaning that it will always be used with an infinitive. So that's another way to tell the difference. Furthermore, it's important to know the subtle differences in tone and meaning behind Wissen and Kennen. There are cases where both verbs work grammatically, but the tone and meaning can change. One example is Ich weiß die Antwort. I know the answer, meaning I have the information. Ich kenne die Antwort. I am familiar with the answer, meaning I've heard it before, and therefore I'm familiar with it. Another example is Ich weiß seinen Namen. I know his name, meaning I have the information, and I know the fact that I know his name. Ich kenne seinen Namen. I am familiar with his name, meaning I've heard his name before, and therefore I'm familiar with it. The final concept that should be known is informal expressions in idioms with Wissen and Kennen. Both verbs can appear in some idiomatic expressions, like Das weiß ich doch. Ich weiß Bescheid. Ich weiß nicht, was ich tun soll. These expressions use Wissen. Ich kenne ihn wie meine Westentasche. Kennen wir uns? Das kenne ich schon. These expressions use Kennen. Overall, this is how Wissen and Kennen fully work in German.